If there's one thing you can say about the Scottish, it's that we'll always be up for the fight. We wear our colours with pride and defend those colours with our hearts. You see, it takes blue and green to make the Tartan Army. And we've got a new fight on our hands as the Professional Fighters League rolls into town. Our very own Stevie Braveheart Ray goes to war on September 28th. A pioneer of Scottish MMA, a legend of global MMA. The most dangerous man in Scotland makes his homecoming at the Hydro, alongside the next generation of Scottish MMA stars. Scotland, rise up and show that when you go to war with one of us, you go to war with all of us. The Professional Fighters League is arriving in Glasgow for the 2024 PFL Europe Playoffs, September 28th at the Hydro. You don't want to miss it.
PFL Europe, the playoffs are on the horizon. We're going to take a little look at what's to come. Andy Shepherd here, along with the man who's put all of this together. 𝗘𝗨𝗥𝗢𝗣𝗘, the outlaw, Dan Hardy. Of course, Dan, you're going to be calling the fights, but you have, can we say, curated this card? I think that's a nice word to put up. And look, before we even delve into it, this is the first major MMA event in Glasgow in some 7 years. A lot for the locals to look forward to.
Yeah, a lot for them to look forward to. And, you know, the events in Glasgow have always been wild as well. You know, I've been up there, I've commentated, I've called Stevie Ray's fights up there, and it's, you know, the atmosphere is wild. It's going to be a really good night. And we've got, you know, big Scottish talent in the main and co-main, as well as the you know, the prelims as well. And the playoffs, which have kind of created themselves, I would say. I mean, these guys have won their way into this position.
Well, let's dive straight in. We've got a huge main event. Stevie Ray, a man who has got a huge reputation and, as of late, a huge physique, since he retired. And that's a key point here, Dan. Stevie Ray is back after he hung up his gloves. How did you convince him to get back into the cage?
I didn't need to, honestly. I think, you know, as soon as he heard that we were looking at Glasgow as a venue, he was like, that's the place for me, you know. I think there are a lot of fans that have been, you know, they've been following Stevie for many years, and they've just not had the opportunity to follow him to fights because he's been fighting around the world. And, you know, this is an opportunity. And now he's coming back at 170 as well. He's going to be a big, powerful welterweight. The Scottish twist is going to be on display as well if it hits the floor, you know that.
Even 170, I'm surprised at, because again, after he hung up his gloves, you can see he started lifting the weight, he started enjoying the food. The guy, he looked like Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
Let's be completely honest. How do you think he'll perform? It's a new physique. It's a new weight category. How does that affect an athlete?
You know, I think it's going to suit him, to be honest, especially because, you know, he is towards the end of his career. You know, at this stage, you don't want to be really depleting yourself and fighting down to a weight class. Like, as you know, Stevie's a big guy, and even to get down to 170, he's still going to need that weight cut. And then on the other side of him, he's got Lewis Long, who's a very strong grappler, really good in the clinch as well. You're going to need that physicality against him. So, you know, Stevie walking around about 200 pounds right now, I think he's probably pretty healthy for him.
And the rest. And the rest. When you proposed this contest to Lewis Long, what was the initial response? Was it, yes, sign me up, or was it,
No, he loved it. He loved it straight away. Like, Lou's always been that guy around the UK that he'll fight anybody. He'll fight them on short notice. He doesn't care whether everybody counts him out or whether the person's got a massive name and big reputation. Like, Lewis Long knows what he's capable of, right? He's there for the fun and for the enjoyment of the scrap as much as he is for the win as well.
Look, I'm being told we've actually got two of our competitors from those top two cards,
right.
top two fights on the line. Stevie Ray and Lewis Long. Let's chat to those guys. Stevie, Lewis, thank you for joining us. Thank you for coming together. Now, we brought you together via the power of the internet, because we don't want you guys coming together until just before the fight, because we're guaranteed fireworks in this one. Look, very excited to watch your fight headline this card in Glasgow. Stevie, let me come to you first of all. Your home nation, coming out of retirement, big fight. How are you feeling ahead of this one?
Feeling good, man. I'm just at that stage of fight camp where, like, I wish it was tomorrow. Just get it done. I'm like, you know, I'm ready pretty much. It's that stage. It's like, oh, let's just fight now. 2 more weeks to, you know, sharpen up or whatever, and, you know, do the weight cut and all that. But I'm ready to go.
On that note, Stevie, how much weight are you cutting? Because you look I mean, Dan were talking earlier. You look like you're Brock Lesnar size right now.
Nah, I'm like 80. I'm like 83 kilo. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm 83. So.
So like a full-size welterweight then these days.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to do it smart, no cut a lot of weight, but no be like tiny either. Obviously, it would be I'd be pretty miserable right now if I was fighting at lightweight. Put it that way. So I'm a wee bit happier. I'm able to eat a wee bit more, fuel my sessions. Yeah.
How about you, Lou? Where are you at in training camp? Are you the same kind of vibe? You just want to get the fight started now?
Yeah, I had a good week last week, and this week I tapered it down for 1 or 2 sessions because it's just like amateurs beating me up, It's like, man, I wish this, as just Stevie said, I wish this was now. Yeah, just gotta get about 17, 18 kilo off, something like that.
Okay, so a couple of kilo then still to go.
17 or 18 kilos.
He worried me then. You worried me for a second. I tell you what. You've just mentioned something quite interesting, Lou. So I'll ask this to both of you. The new generations of mixed martial arts that are coming through, like you guys you're headlining this because you're the veterans, you're the old school guys. But like especially for Stevie, you've got guys on this undercard that you're training with that are like basically the next generation of fighters. Like, is there anybody in your gym that you've been working with for this training camp that is like a part of that new generation fighters that we've got to watch out for?
Yeah, all of them.
Go on, Stevie first.
Yeah. Yeah, like Mark Ewan, obviously. Mark Ewan, a very good striker. He's like one of my main sparring partners. So there's Mark, there's Sean Clancy, who's an absolute nightmare, big welterweight who just won in Cage Warriors. I think he's 5-0 now. He's another one of my main sparring partners. And like Lewis said, just the new generation like taking over and beating me up a bit, but you know what? It's kept me sharp. Lorenzo as well. Lorenzo, 𝗘𝗨𝗥𝗢𝗣𝗘. Yeah, pretty much all of them. They're all my training partners, and then I think Dylan's in is he an alternate for the tournament? So he's in as well. I've got Mad Dylan. Yeah.
What about you, Lewis? Who are you working with?
Yeah, I got a lot of individual coaches that I do my specific stuff with. I got a whole host of fighters in the gym, But I've been doing a lot with Big Mike Shipman. He's a hard worker. But yeah, just working hard. And you know what? Fighters got it easy these days. But I imagine, sure, like me and Stevie were back in the day. I didn't know what jiu-jitsu was. You know what I mean? I had to travel, 50 miles to get a jiu-jitsu session off a purple belt. Like, these days, you got like yourself, like Stevie, myself, all veterans in the sport. Then, yeah, they got it easy. They got it
Lewis,
easy.
Look, you're headlining this huge card in Glasgow against a great in Stevie Ray. How does it feel to be top of the bill on this card?
I mean, it's amazing to have that level of prestige, and against Stevie, But a fight's a fight. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether it's on the bottom of the bill, top of the bill. You got to turn up. You got to perform, and that's it. I mean, it's amazing to have this level of exposure as well. So it's time to shine, really.
And Steve,
I've got to get down to brass tacks here, Stevie. So, what's the perfect night for you on September 28th? Perfect case scenario, what would be the best finish of the night for you in this scenario?
Yeah, so I got asked that before. Like, I mean, if I could literally write it, then I would maybe choose a 3-round war, and if I knew I was gonna if I could write it and I was gonna win a 3-round war, back and forth, entertaining fight for the fans. But that's thinking of the fan perspective. Like, obviously, the perfect night for me is we touch gloves. I throw a left hand, and that's it. It's over. It's done. One punch and done. I mean, like I said, I'm older now. I've been in this game 15 years. I've fought at the highest level pretty much since the start. I've done BAMA, Cage Warriors, UFC, PFL. I've been active. It's been tough. I've had injuries over the years as well. So now, I'm just selfishly, get in, get the job done, and get home would be great. I used to actually not like that. If I ever won quick, I'd be disappointed. But now being the old veteran, that would be my, obviously, ideal scenario.
See, it's quite nice to see two guys at the stage of their career where they're just like, look, we're going to get in there, we're going to have a fight. We're quite happy to have a war. We want to entertain the fans. And there's not really any kind of like animosity or trash talking anything between you.
It doesn't get me, and this is what pisses me off with the younger generation. Their whole thing is how many likes or how many followers they get, as if their self-worth is that, and like, I know back and forth. It's like, well, at the end of the day, we're gonna go punch each other in the face. Who cares? Who cares?
Lewis, you get more words of wisdom. Thank you for joining us. I was excited for this fight before. Now I can't wait to be spending fight with you in Glasgow, because you guys are, look, you're entertaining here talking to you. I can't wait to see what the entertainment is that you bring inside that cage. Main event, September 28th. Well, great to hear from those two guys there. An exciting main event to come in Glasgow. But we go from one of the elder statesmen, shall we say, of Scottish MMA to almost the next generation of Scottish mixed martial arts. Dan, you put this card together so well. And look, opening up the night, we've got a plethora of young, upcoming talent from the area. I know one person you're very excited about is Mark Ewan.
Yeah. A lot of people are excited about Mark Ewan. And he had a rough outing in his last fight. There was no doubt about it. Claudio really put it on him and is going to force Mark to adapt in the gym. This is our opportunity to see Mark coming back from a loss, which a lot of people didn't expect him to have, especially not at this stage of his career. I think he's going to jump forward in his technique and in his ability, and people talk so highly of him. To see him walk out, he was already telling me he should be the main event of this card way back when we were talking about Glasgow. He's got real high expectations for himself, and I think he can live up to them as well.
When he's got such high expectations, coming off a loss, and a loss that wasn't expected by anyone, not least him, how do you think that's affected him?
I think it's affected him in only positive ways. He's got a real good team of fighters around him, and he's sharing the card with teammates as well, which does make a big difference. He's got a good support network. But the reality is, like, there were lots of different learnings from that fight, right? It wasn't like he got caught with one shot in a fight where he was dominating. He was controlled up against the fence. He was hit with clean shots. He made consistent mistakes in that fight, which for sure his coach James Doolan is going to look at and refine and repair. I think we're going to see a far more technical and clinical and dangerous version of Mark Ewan this time around.
He's a man who brings a lot of fans in, has a lot of support. Being on home soil again, that's surely going to light a fire inside him.
Yeah, it really is. Like, Mark Ewan sees himself in these big moments, in these big opportunities where, the crowd are coming out to watch him specifically. And although he's coming back off a loss, I think his mentality going into this fight is to make sure that everyone knows that he is the future of Scottish mixed martial arts. And I think, if he has an impressive performance, we're going to see him right up towards the top of the card next time around. He's going to be wanting that PFL Europe belt next year for sure.
Another local on the card, Lorenzo Parente?
Parente, yes.
Lorenzo Parente.
Yeah, Parente.
Lorenzo Parente.
Parente.
I'll get that right on the night when I'm announcing his name. Doesn't sound Scottish to me.
No.
But again, another man on home soil, another man looking to make a real statement.
Yeah, a real strong amateur as well. He had a really good outing as an amateur. A lot of people were tuned into his career before he even turned pro, and he's still very early in his career. But when we did the Four Nations tournament in Wales, in Cardiff, he was one of the fighters that we picked out to give the PFL Prospect Award to. So even as an amateur, PFL had already invested in him and his training because we could see his potential.
It's going to be intriguing as to how they all adapt and they feel that situation. And look, someone who's going to be opening up the night, making one of the first walks in Glasgow, is going to be £𝗟𝗪𝗏. How do you think it feels to be that first fighter coming out in your hometown in such an iconic place?
Gemma's a very interesting person because I mean, she's a full-time school teacher outside of her career as a martial artist, and this is going to be her professional debut as well as her PFL debut. So, not only is she stepping onto a big card filled with people that she's trained with and been looking up to all the way through her career, she gets the small gloves on for the first time. I think there's going to be so many emotions running through her, but I also think she's going to have so much good support in the building. All of those families of the kids that she looks after and teaches, I think they're all going to be supporting her, and for the example that she's setting for their children. I think she's going to be on a high all the way through week.
If you were offering advice to any of these fighters who are making such a big walk for the first time, there's going to be so many feelings, so many emotions, and we've seen time and time again the adrenaline dump, shall we say, when they step inside a cage. What advice would you be offering them about controlling those emotions?
It's a good question. I mean, I think people deal with it in different ways. For me, I had to give myself the forgiveness that the first round is, I'll see how it goes, right? I don't want to lose the first round, but I certainly don't want to get overexcited and expend all my energy in that first 5 minutes. So first of all, I would say, just take your time and take in the moment. And then second of all, staying with the take in the moment sentiment, like enjoy every day of fight week, right? You're going to be doing media, you're going to be doing photo shoots and interviews, and the whole experience is worth taking in. And sometimes with a high pressure situation coming on the Saturday night, it's quite easy to be distracted and go, well, all my focus goes on that moment. And then you miss all the good stuff that goes on in fight week that you really would be enjoying as a fight fan.
Well, do you know what? Let's find out how 𝗟𝗪𝗦 is feeling right now. We've got her on the line. Gemma, thank you for jumping on. Great to see you. Great to talk to you. Where are you, by the way?
I'm in my car outside the gym. I'm just under a wee street light trying to get a bit of light, but I know it's not great, sorry.
This is something I never get. Whenever I see the majority of fighter interviews I see, everyone's always in their car.
It's our office on wheels, right? You've probably got like 3 different training bags in the back and a whole bunch of gloves and stuff in there as well.
I've got about 5 pairs of gloves, 3 pairs of shinnies, a gi that I don't wear. I basically live in my car.
Well, it sounds like your car's prepared for any circumstances. But let's talk about how you're preparing for September 28th. How are preparations going? How are you feeling ahead of this fight?
Yeah, good. Everything's going great. I'm training at a new gym for this camp, which has been great. At higher level, so I just moved there in April after my last amateur fight, so I feel like I'm starting to really settle in there now, get used to the new coaching and all that, and yeah, it's been brilliant. I'm looking forward to it.
There's a lot of attention on you going into this fight, especially given the fact that your day job is so different to your I mean, it's not even a pastime. This is your pro debut, so this is a whole other career that you're building on the side. But you're a school teacher, right? You're going to have a lot of support from kids and families that you're teaching.
Yeah, so this year I've went down to 4 days, but I'm still teaching full time Monday to Thursday, so it's pretty full on. I'm working 7:30 till 3:30, and then straight up the road to training every night. But all the kids are so excited about it and stuff. They all love it. And last year, I had the same class for my full amateur career, and then when I got signed to PFL, I was able to tell them about it and stuff, and they're all dead excited. So they're all still checking every day. They're coming up to me being like, "When's your fight? When's your fight?" So it's dead exciting. They love it.
Are all the kids well behaved for you in class?
No, definitely not. I don't think they care that I'm an MMA fighter. I don't think that matters to them. But I wouldn't have it any other way. It'd be boring if they were all well behaved.
Dan just mentioned you're making, obviously, your pro debut, Glasgow, the Hydro. It's a big time card. What are those emotions ahead of this event?
To be honest, I'm just trying to look at it as the same as any other fight. But every fight to me means a lot, and I always put kind of everything into it, regardless. But I think this has been a bit special because there's something about it I'm really excited about. Whereas normally I'm just feel pressure and nerves and all the kind of serious side. Whereas with this, there's that kind of aspect of how amazing it's going to be to be able to fight in the Hydro in Glasgow, which is only 25 minutes away from home for me. So there's all that lovely side of it, and this is the first fight that I've had that I've said that friends and family can come to it. Normally I just say no, I don't want anyone there. So this time I've kind of opened it up to people coming to watch me and stuff. So there's like loads of things like that to look forward to, which is great, because normally, not that I don't look forward to it, I love fighting, but normally I just see it as like something I've got to do, pressure, need to go get the win, whatever, whereas this has got this kind of nice aspect to like, it's exciting, and obviously it's a dream for so many people to fight somewhere like the Hydro. Like, I'm just so lucky to be given like such an amazing opportunity for my pro debut. It couldn't be any better.
So what's left to do then? A couple of weeks left before the fight. What's left to do in your preparations and your weight cut and those kind of things?
Weight's absolutely fine, to be honest. Just my last kind of week and a half of like proper hard training. I'll just probably continue to kind of focus on my own games. Not really much point in trying to like change up anything based on like opponents or whatever. So I'm just going to focus on the way I was already focusing on the fight, and just fight week start. Oh, sorry, my lights are going off now. Sorry. That's because I'm stuck in my car. I'm trying to keep as many lights as I can. Then fight week, I'm just obviously looking forward to like a wee bit of wind down then, and I'm working with a nutritionist for the first time this camp, so my weight cut will be slightly different. So I'm not really sure what that will be like this time, but I'm looking forward to it. Everything's just a wee bit more kind of structured now. I've got like people helping me for like all different things like strength conditioning, nutrition. Like, I didn't have any of that before, so these are all things that have come with being pro as well, that are kind of taking a bit of the pressure off me. So I'm just kind of hoping I'm going to be able to enjoy fight week this time, really. I'll still be working right up until the Thursday, but
Really? What's your last day at work then during fight week?
I mean, it's an improvement. Last year, like,
Are you bringing some mark into the weight cut?
I mean, last year I was doing the weight cut in the morning and going into my work in the afternoon, so it's an improvement. Aye.
Wow.
Teaching.
Wow.
Honestly, I was like waiting
Well,
and then teaching
Gemma,
an hour later. So.
I've never heard of someone doing that. Look, Gemma, well, you've got a long job ahead of you, so we'll let you go. We can't wait to see you in fight week. We can't wait to see you step into the Hydro September 28th at
Thanks
PFL
so much for having
Europe. Thank you for taking the time to join us.
Thanks so much. Thank you. Nice to speak to you.
Let's move on to the nuts and bolts, shall we, of this card in Glasgow. It's the PFL season, right? They're competing to become PFL Europe champion. There's $100,000 for each of the champions, and we've seen what the likes of 𝗘𝗨𝗥𝗢𝗣𝗑 have gone on to do, be part of the global series, be competing for a global title and $1 million. This is really career-making stuff we're talking about here. Let's take a look at the lightweights. First of all, first person that jumps out to me is returning champion 𝗘𝗨𝗥𝗢𝗣𝗑, the Polish powerhouse. But that is really a wide open bracket.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it was even at the very start in the regular season when we had 8 fighters in this bracket. But as they've been filtered out, 𝗘𝗨𝗥𝗢𝗣𝗑 taking out 𝗟𝗟𝗔𝗚𝗨𝗡 with that beautiful knockout. Conor Hughes the same, really, really clean knockout. And then Daniel Skotitsi running through Chizov with that heel hook.
This year, you, as the head of this thing, introduced a new division. We've got welterweights coming in.
I'm a little biased. That's my weight class. A lot of good
Is
weight.
it? Is it?
Well,
still?
it was.
Is it
Okay,
still?
all right. Fair. It was my weight class like 50 years ago. Look, welterweight for me has always been an interesting weight class. We've always had a really, really good selection of welterweights coming out of Europe. We've had welterweight champions coming out of Europe, welterweight challengers, some of the best veterans of the game, the likes of Paul Daly. Killer knockout power. Welterweight is where speed and size and power all come together, right? So you get great athletes, but you also get guys that are really very, very technically well-rounded. Now, this bracket's interesting for a variety of different reasons. Like, Jack Grant was a replacement. He wasn't in the original regular season, but he had such a good performance against Lazy King that we just needed to put him in this bracket, right? He's fighting Florem Zendelli, who was really impressive in Paris. He's got a background in oil wrestling.
I'm sorry?
Oil wrestling.
Should we be talking about this?
Well, I mean, this was an interesting conversation I had with Zendelli, because he actually explains the benefits. You can't grab somebody and hold on to them, right? They're slick, they're oily, which is just like when someone's really sweating in a very intense fight. We remember what Jack Grant's fight was like against Lazy King. It was just like a real grappling tussle. Like Zendelli, as he showed in his first fight in PFL Europe, he's able to control somebody, from a body lock, even though they're sweating and they're wriggling. And I think he's a dark horse in this division. Jack Grant, of course, everyone knows how dangerous he is, but you can't take your eyes off Zendelli. And then on the other side, Daniel Michelli was super impressive. Von Fluchoke, don't see that very often. But Ibrahim Man, you know, another favourite in this bracket. A lot of people expecting big things from him.
Let's just go back to Jack for a minute. You said he was a sort of a last-minute entry into this after a very impressive performance. He's someone, if you've followed UK and European MMA, you've definitely seen around the circuit. He's 32 years old. I think this is his 29th fight. He's done the miles, but he does seem like a competitor who is coming into his own now.
Yeah.
I mean, that performance against 𝗟𝗟𝗣𝗘, really opened a lot of people's eyes to what he can do.
For sure, yeah. And then, you know, and the thing is, he came off that fight. Obviously, he didn't win that fight, but then not many people beat Lazy King. I mean, I think only one person's managed it in his entire career. So what we saw from Jack Grant was a very stubborn and determined performance, as well as showing his physicality and his grappling skills. Now, going into this bracket here, so in that fight against 𝗟𝗨𝗥𝗢𝗣𝗘 in Newcastle, it was like, it almost seemed like it was like a new part of his career. Like, right, now I'm back in amongst these young prospects again, and I'm going to really show people what I'm capable of. And he just trounced him, didn't he? He ran through him. It was a very dominant performance, and I think even Jack was surprised himself at how aggressive and effective he was with that, you know, with his wrestling. He, in my opinion, is the guy to beat in this division with his experience and with his confidence right now and his physicality. I mean, he used to make 155. I have no idea how.
Massive. The
He's
guy's
massive,
absolutely
shredded,
massive.
great shape.
170, as you say, your weight category. How would you feel if you were stepping in this tournament right now?
I don't want to fight any of these guys. I've got a guy that is going to wrestle me for 15 minutes or less. I've got a guy that could choke me out with his shoulder. I've got a guy that I can't do anything with, Jack Grant, and he's twice the size of me, even though he's a welterweight. And then Ibrahim Man, I just feel like we're going to see some lethal skills out of him in his next fight, and I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end.
Think you can make 155?
If it means me not fighting these guys, I'll take a shot. But I don't think that.
Even that, I'll tell you.
Every single one of those guys.
And look, we've got the bantamweight as well. I don't think anyone can make the bantamweight between you and me. Again, a really exciting bracket. In fact, someone who you were super excited to see last time out was Alexander Luster. Schlingel? Schlingel. Great nickname. And actually, I think we've got him on the line right now. Alexander, thank you for joining us. We are excited to see you back in a PFL Europe cage September 28th in Glasgow. First things first, how are preparations going?
Preparations are going great. I feel better than ever. I'm prepared very well for my next fight, and I'm looking forward to putting on a good show in Glasgow.
But before I let Dan Hardy speak to you, by the way, I've just got to interrupt him because I've worked with Dan for a while, and there's a lot of nicknames in this sport. A lot of nicknames. But this man feels that your nickname potentially is one of the best in the industry. Schlingel?
Schlingel, yes.
Schlingel.
Tell us what it's about. Explain to the fans what the translation is and where you got the nickname from.
Well, the translation is rascal. I'd actually be fine with being called out with rascal. You can, like, if anybody in the PFL wants to translate that and just call me out with that, I'm fine with that too.
Okay.
I'm calling Alex. I'm calling you out. So you tell me what you want to call out. I like the German version.
Yeah,
there's something to it.
Then let's stay with the German version.
There we go.
I'm fine with that too. No, for me, it's not about the word. It's about the message. It's who I am. I don't like. There's a lot of nicknames, as you said, in the MMA industry. A lot of them are very dark and aggressive. And if I'm not stepping into the cage, normally I'm not very aggressive. I'm pretty much a nice guy. You can grab a beer with me. You can say hello. It's not a problem. And we'll probably have a lot of fun. And outside of the cage, I like to have fun. I like to enjoy my time. I like to enjoy the time in the cage too, but just a little bit different, you know?
Well, this was the lasting impression that you left with all of the PFL Europe staff after the Newcastle event, because as soon as you were out of the smart cage, you had a beer in each hand and you were starting the party early. Like, tell me about the character balance, if you like. You know, you're the rascal when you're outside of the smart cage, but who are you inside the smart cage? How is that character different?
Well, it's the same character. I enjoy fighting very much. My walk-in music is very enjoyable. Like, I like to have a party in the cage as well as outside of the cage. Just in the cage, you have to be very disciplined with what you do, and as soon as the fight's over, you can let loose a bit. And I try to fight hard, but I also like to party hard. So it's the same character. It's in line from my perspective.
Makes sense. So two sides of the same coin, if you like.
Yes,
Makes
exactly.
sense. So what was it like? I mean, obviously this is your first time in the PFL format. As soon as you won that last fight, you were facing off against your next opponent. Like, how was that for you? Was that different to how you've normally been, you know, to know who you're fighting straight away? You're in basically a tournament format, so you win and you move forward. Talk to me about that experience.
I actually like it because it gives you the opportunity of preparing immediately for somebody, and like I always mold my game plan very specifically to an opponent. Actually, when we signed the contract for the PFL tournament, even before I was told who my opponent was, I looked at all the possible opponents and I picked one and started preparing for that. So we just to have something to prepare for is very, very good for me, because I like to have a very strategic approach to the fights, and knowing earlier gives me more time to prepare, gives me more time to build up a strategy, work on that strategy, and then in the end execute that strategy. So I like that very much. For me personally, like going into the cage after somebody won and maybe taking away their moment a bit, because they have to immediately deal with their opponent getting in their face, is something I don't necessarily want to do, because he just did his job. He did a very good job at it, and he deserved his moment. So I tried to stay calm and not like get in his face too much. I told him, nice fight, good fight. I'll see you in Glasgow. And yeah, so, and from my perspective, that was the last glorious moment in this PFL tournament for him. So I wanted him to have that before he gets kicked out of the tournament in a few days or a few weeks.
Did you have any time after the last fight? Did you give yourself a break, or was it just a couple of beers and a face-off and then we're back to the gym?
I actually did give myself a break. I went on a holiday for a week. We went to Mallorca, had a few beers there, and relaxed in the Spanish sun. And yeah, but that's also something I do after every fight. After every fight, I take a short holiday, just a few days off, not too long, like just a week, relax, like reassess, and it also helps me come back in the gym even sharper, because sometimes you get like this overload of every day is the same. You're in the gym in the morning, you're in the gym in the evening, like every day looks the same. And if that takes over for a year without a break, sometimes I feel like the evolving processes get slowed down, and taking like a few days off always helped me like reassess and then come back even sharper and more motivated.
Alexander, what happens between now and the fight? What are the final preparations you're going to do?
Well, we're gonna have, I think we're like little less than 2 weeks out, no, a little more than 2 weeks out. I think I'll have a few more good spars. The guys will maul me, and they'll enjoy it. I won't. We'll do a few more. There'll be a few more hard sessions coming towards me. Like, we've put in a lot of hard work, and it's been very uncomfortable. And it's gonna be one more week of that, and then we're gonna slow it down a bit, start cutting the weight, and then be in the best shape of my life on September 28th.
Well, Alexander, we can't wait to see you inside of PFL Europe Cage once again, September 28th in Glasgow. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to seeing you there.
Thank you guys, always an honor.
The rascal. I mean, charismatic as hell.
Yeah. He's got everything, really. You know, he's a star in the making. He can speak well. He's bilingual. He's skilled. He's talented, and he's a real student of the game as well, right? Like, everything he talked about was how strategic his approach is to his opponents. Like, I can imagine him, although he kind of plays the rascal, I think he leaves no stone unturned. I think he covers every aspect of the game, and I think his conditioning will show that as well.
He said even before he got his opponent at the start of this, he was researching each and every person. He is clinical, to say the least. But look, Junior Lopez, as I said on that interview, he was he arrived actually on the same flight as me for that event the night before the weigh-ins. Last minute call-in for that contest, made the weight. Stunning performance. Opened up a lot of people's eyes. Bit of a dark horse in this one.
For sure, a dark horse. You know, because people weren't really expecting him to step in. I mean, he was the alternate. We had him ready in case anybody fell out of that first regular season. And unfortunately, you know, Don Woodin lost his opponent, so Julian Lopez stepped in. And at times in that fight, he looked to be, you know, in a lot of trouble. But he was able to regroup. He was able to deal with the pressure from Don Woodin and get a beautiful submission. And I think, you know, that momentum is a big thing as well. Like he came in as an unknown commodity. He's taken out one of the top prospects in the division, and you know he's got another top prospect in front of him here this time around.
A lot of people training at GB Top Team right now involved in Bellator and PFL Europe, one of which is taking part in the women's flyweight division. It's Chanel Dyer, and we can speak to her right now. Chanel, thank you for joining us. We are edging closer and closer to September 28th when we're going to see you back inside a PFL Europe cage. A lot was expected from you earlier this year when you had your first round contest in PFL Europe. And let's be honest, you delivered. Did you feel the pressure going into that fight?
Yes and no. No, for the fact that I take pressure and I flip it into motivation. It motivates me to train harder. It motivates me to fight harder. And I just wanted to show everyone what I could do in fighting, and that's what I've done.
I've got to say, Stefan Struve was nearly knocked over by you at the weigh-ins.
He's so tall.
Last time, so...
He's massive. He's like a giant.
He is very, very
He's
tall.
probably the tallest person I've ever met in my life.
That could well be true. It's the same for a lot of us, I think.
Yeah, 7 foot tall for sure.
But there was a lot of needle at sea between you and your opponent going into that contest, but you kept your composure, and it was a wonderful finish. Was it all you sort of dreamt of and focused on going into that fight?
100%. I always say to everyone, when I fight, I don't fight personally. It's all business to me. We both signed a paper to fight, so I don't take anything personally. No disrespect to her, but I would head kick KO'd her regardless of the push. Like regardless of she done like the whole fight week, that would have happened regardless. So I'm happy I got that shot done.
Were you surprised that she was so aggressive during fight week, and was it a little bit sweeter when you got the knockout finish?
Yeah, because I was seeing her the whole of fight week, and she was so timid and to herself. I don't know, maybe our coach told her something, but like she just switched up on the stage. Maybe she tried to get in my head. Because I think for her aspect, the only reason why that she could potentially win the fight is if she got into my head, and she didn't get into my head. I actually think that she lost the fight from that push. You know when someone pushes you and there's like no substance to that, I was literally saying to my head, there's no way you're taking me down on Saturday. Like my fear factor went from like about 10 to 0. I had no fear going into that fight. And they were so happy when I landed the head.
So that backfired
100%.
Then. That backfired.
Yeah, like
on
her hands were so soft. There was no substance. I'm like, there's no way you're taking me down on Saturday. And she didn't get a touch from me on the Saturday. And when that head kick landed, it was amazing.
Yeah, Andy's got soft hands.
I'm just checking.
You've just upset Andy as well. He's got really soft
there's a couple
hands.
That's
from coffee cups.
We won't
though.
talk about that. Look, Chanel, but that's all in the past. We're going to the future now. This next fight, September 28th in Glasgow. What have you been working on since we last saw you?
I've been straight in the gym. My last fight, she literally didn't touch me. So I was back in the gym Monday morning preparing for 𝗘𝗨𝗥𝗢𝗣𝗑, my next battle. Obviously, the win in Newcastle was sweet, but my mission's not done. I still have 2 more fights to win the European League. And so all my focus and attention is on 𝗘𝗨𝗥𝗢𝗣𝗑 now. We know our game plan. We've been working our game plan in training. Training's going well. I'm smashing my PBs. Sparring's going great, so I can't wait to put on the show in Glasgow.
Where do you think she's most dangerous, 𝗘𝗨𝗥𝗢𝗣𝗑?
I think 𝗘𝗘𝗥𝗢𝗣𝗑, she has the means to spoil a fight. I think what she wants to do is to basically rush me into the cage and hold me and keep me there by any means possible. But I think I'm too sharp and slick to be able to be put in those positions. I won't be in those positions, but if I do, I'll get out and impose my game plan, which I do in every single fight, and I'll come away with the win.
She's a very stocky, very powerful, very heavy-handed competitor. You ready for that potential onslaught?
Yeah, 100%. I'm prepared any means possible. If it goes to the ground, I'm super confident in my jiu-jitsu, super confident in my wrestling, and obviously my striking. I think I'm too sharp for her. My shots, the second she starts feeling my shots, like the last girl, she's going to be on the back foot and she's going to be scared. And that's when I impose my game plan and I finish her.
Do you think it, obviously it's different with the PFL format because everyone's chasing that $100,000 and the belt. So it keeps people in these fights. But if you were going from one fight to another, do you think, after a knockout head kick like that, do you think it's going to eventually be difficult to get people to step into the smart cage?
100%. But I just want to fight the best fighters. And if you don't want to fight me, that means that you're not the best fighter. And that's not the fight I want to fight. I want to fight fighters that want to bring the fight, that actually wants to knuckle down and push for the fight and be an exciting fighter. And that's the fighters I want to fight.
Now, I've got to ask you on this because obviously the person that won the PFL women's flyweight division last year is 𝗘𝗨𝗥𝗢𝗣𝗘, and she's gone on to global. She's now in the $1 Million Championship. Well, tell me what you think of 𝗘𝗨𝗥𝗢𝗣 and her success, and can you see yourself in that position fighting for the $1 million in the near future?
Yeah, 𝗘𝗨𝗥𝗢𝗣's good. She's undefeated. I think she's 12-0 now, so her record speaks for herself. She's blasting through all these girls and she's showing levels, which I want to do the same thing as well. She won the European League last year. I'm going to win this year. She's potentially going to win the $1 Million League this year, and that's what I want to do next year. So I want to replicate that. Hopefully we do get that fight down in the future because I say it all the time. I want to fight the best fighters, and she's solidifying her as one of the greatest fighters, and I want to be the greatest fighter. So I have to fight the greatest fighter down the line.
What would it be like to bring that PFL Europe belt back to the gym? I mean, I know Brad's got that nice case inside the gym with all the UFC and the BMF belts and stuff. Yeah, he would make space for you though, right?
Keep all those belts out. You just need a PFL belt. I'm joking. The gyms, they've put a lot of time and effort into me, and they have so much belief in me, and they know that I'm going to win the PFL European Championship in December, and I want to give them as thanks for putting your belief in me, training me, and pushing me to be the best that I can be. Because I wouldn't win the belt without the gym. So when I win the belt, the whole of GB top team wins that belt.
A win for you, a win for GB top team. Hey, look, we're excited to see you compete September 28th, as are all your teammates as well. We'll let you go for those final preparations. Chanel, thanks for your time. She seems cool. She seems calm and dangerous, to say the least.
Chanel's ready. I mean, you heard her talking about Dakota there, and the reason why I asked her is because, do you want to follow in Dakota's footsteps? Would you like to, follow that same path to the global championship? But the way that Chanel's talking is, I hope at some point I get the opportunity to fight her.
That's it. I think Dakota is, this is the second PFL Europe season. Dakota is the textbook. She won it last year. She's gone to the global season. She's in the championship. And a lot of people are making it a favourite. That is the dream, to win this 100 grand, win European title, go and win $1 million and a global title. What happens if Valentina really puts it on her, puts the pressure on, and she starts feeling those heavy strikes and is really on the back foot? How does she respond to that?
She responds well. Look, I've seen Chanel in her Muay Thai career, in her kickboxing career, have rough rounds, right? She had a great fight with Sammy Joe Luxton, who I was hoping was going to join this bracket maybe next year, but the reality is, even if Chanel is on the back foot and she's getting bettered in a fight, she bites down on her mouth guard and she digs deep and she pulls herself out of these circumstances. I've never ever seen her just pushed around and bullied. It doesn't happen. Maybe for a moment here and there, but then straight away that adds motivation to her to turn the fight around and get back on track.
Well, look, we don't know who's going to get through to the championship, but what we do know is there will be a Polish competitor in the women's flyweight division, because we've got two Poles in the next side of the bracket.
Yes.
This one's going to be a tough one to call.
It is, and they're both very different styles of fighter as well. I mean, she's moved up a weight class into the flyweight division, and she's shorter, but she's aggressive, and she's able to get inside people's range because of how fast she moves in this weight class. On the other side, you've got Paulina, who's got really good amateur experience, but he's definitely the taller, more rangy technical fighter, right? Paulina's going to want space from Karolina. She's going to want to be able to pick her off at range and not allow Karolina to get too close, where she might have to deal with wrestling. She might have to deal with like a scrappy clinch. I think Paulina's going to want to make this as clean as possible, and I think Karolina's going to try and make it as ugly and as scrappy as possible.
Well, how does Karolina's experience play into this? She's a 17-fight veteran, Paulina 3-0. How does that experience, is that an asset to Karolina?
Yeah, for sure. You know, Carolina will have seen fighters like Paulina before, height, reach, skills that she's got, and she will have, you know, had to deal with those problems in the past. I mean, that's really the benefit and experience, is that you're not experiencing things for the first time in a cage. Carolina's experience is going to allow her to feel comfortable in uncomfortable situations. Pauline is still early in her career, and although she gets Chanel Dyer's vote to get through to the final, that's because Chanel sees how technical she is. Yeah. But same as Chanel's fight with Valentina, the difference here could be the aggression and the forward pressure. We might see Valentina and Carolina just maul both of their opponents, and then we've got the two technical strikers in Chanel and Paulina don't make it through to the championship. Or it could go the opposite way and we get two supremely technical fighters in the championship who want to kickbox at range. I mean, they're both quite similar fights stylistically, but the outcomes could be very, very different.
It's all to play for. And this is why I love the PFL season format. There is so much at stake. And to get to the championship, you've got to put together a body of work. It's not one fight, it's a whole season you've got to get through. And looking at this card right now, it's hard to really call who's going to make it to the championship in Lyon in December. But what I do know, Dan Hardy, is that you and I will be in Glasgow September 28th for this standout card. So much Scottish talent, so much European talent, so much at stake. Who is going to win and progress to those $100,000 PFL Europe Championship bouts? We're going to find out September 20th. Come and join us live on DAZN.
If there's one thing you can say about the Scottish, it's that we'll always be up for the fight. We wear our colours with pride and defend those colours with our hearts. You see, it takes blue and green to make that Tartan army. And we've got a new fight on our hands as the Professional Fighters League rolls into town. Our very own Stevie Braveheart Ray goes to war on September 28th. A pioneer of Scottish MMA, a legend of global MMA. The most dangerous man in Scotland makes his homecoming at the Hydro, alongside the next generation of Scottish MMA stars. Scotland, rise up and show that when you go to war with one of us, you go to war with all of us. The Professional Fighters League is arriving in Glasgow for the 2024 PFL Europe Playoffs, September 28th at the Hydro. You don't want to miss it.